Good afternoon, everyone. Today in the morning at the roundtable of security of operators of communications, we discussed some common problems for security and safety, but it was about the software installed at equipment, and we talked about the common problems related to DOS attacks, but we forgot about one other aspect that plays an important part, some auxiliary systems that we are using in order to manage our equipment. They help us to perform the centralized monitoring and control and to deal with the diversity of the elements in the network. And the specific feature of those systems is that due to the specificity, they have an access to all the parts of our equipment. S&P, for example, access. Sometimes they require the special access for console. And as for these systems, they are quite critical because the malicious people, they can get an access to configuration about the equipment, and it can affect negatively the security and can be detrimental for the business. And if due to some reasons they get an unauthorized access to the changes, it can lead to some downtime and the failures of the equipment. And one of the most common typical mistake that I have identified, for example, yesterday, it took me only 1 hour to get an access to the network of mobile operators, 5 mobile operators. So the typical mistake, looking glass, many operators are using that and they are having it publicly available, and other engineers can be using it as well. Of course, the majority of people, they are using the typical available products that have vulnerabilities or some strange settings by default that can allow you to do things that some people cannot even imagine. For example, this product called Looking Glass, by default, many people do not change settings in the root catalog. They have its own configuration. On the slide, we have a simple address where you can get an access to the soft. So as you can see, the configuration file, you can have the login, the password, the IP addresses of the equipment, so you can easily get an access to everything you have in the network. Sorry, I cannot hear that. Something is said without a microphone. So, many people in Looking Glass, they have their own manageable addresses, internal addresses, and it can seem that it can enhance security, but it's not like that. Even if you have one compromised router, it's not a problem to learn the address, and then these people, malicious people, they can get into the system and can get an access to all the equipment. And these accounts are distributed with some centralized systems, and the login and the password can be used for all the equipment. So how can we avoid those problems? The most evident method, you can track what is publicly available to monitor and to control the software that you use. The majority of people do not think about updating the software. And the second line of security is to make sure that it will be very difficult to get to your equipment through those systems and through networks, so you can control your interface. Of course, you know about those things, and one of the drawbacks is that you can easily turn this configuration off, or you can just lose this configuration, and if you forget about this configuration even at one of the routers, everything will be useless. So you can limit the access with using specific mechanisms of Texas, and you should check the login and the password. You should break down the rights for the users and have different criteria like IP addresses in order to monitor who is trying to get into your network, into your system. So you can elaborate the configuration that will not grant an access to the unauthorized user, and then they will not be able to perform any attacks. So if we talk about centralized control of accounts, we have to closely monitor that. Many operators have a total mess there, so they use a large number of different accounts, and nobody knows the full list of it. The majority of cases, they have inadequate extended rights. For example, the looking glass can be used for some users, and this is the configuration that can lead to some harmful consequences. And the monitoring system can also face some leakages. This for communities, the operators can start some process, and with the standard equipment, the classical ones, can also lead to showing that publicly on the web. That is everything I wanted to say, and if you have any questions, I will be glad to answer them. Okay, thank you very much.